guys, you are listening to DSX Machina. I'm Soli, I'm a film student and I like to talk about films and TV shows. But right now, mainly films. And today's topic is Rocketman. Oh yeah, I know. What an awesome film. So I thought maybe after discussing a very controversial film, I kind of go with the one I really liked, and that is maybe not as controversial as The Crimes of Grindelwald, for example. Yes. So Rocketman, I know it has been out for a while by now, and it's probably old already. Most likely, I'm late on, but I always am. That's kind of my vibe. Rocketman. It was a film that I particularly liked, and I was very hyped to see it. Because I like Elton John's music. I really love and enjoy listening to it, and I know that is a very general thing because a lot of people like Elton John, which is why Elton John is so popular and why his career was so fast and so straightforward. And I think the film Rocketman really is showing that off, like how it is and how it was for Elton John himself. And I've read an article beforehand about Rocketman, and the makers of the film, the producers, the director and the writers and stuff, they did not anticipate to make a perfect and completely historical accurate film about Elton John. They did not want to make like a biopic that focuses on being a biopic. They wanted to make like this powerful, colourful and vibrant tale, like a musical almost, that shows off the origin story of one of the greatest musicians of this era, like the era from the 60s, 70s on up to now. And accidentally, more or less accidentally, and they made it more accurate and even closer to Elton John, to the main character, than they did with Bohemian Rhapsody and Freddie Mercury. At least that is what I've read. I personally do not know, since I do not know the real stories of these people, because I know you hear a lot, you read a lot, and I'm honestly not a really invested gossip person, so when there's gossip about people, I don't know that most of the times. Even with the people I know personally. But you get the point. I can't tell you if that is correct, if that is true. Because how am I supposed to know? But based on this article I've read, it is like that. So it's not perfect, it's not spot on, but it is like very accurate and very deep, and the picture they paint of Elton John and his psyche and his character and the way he interacts with people and how he thinks of himself, and that is apparently very true and very strong depicted. And Elton John, watching this movie, said that he saw himself and not an actor trying to be him, but he saw him. Which is super important when you try to understand how real or how close to a real person a film is. Because a lot of historical figures or famous figures who have a biopic, we can't ask about this. Most of them are already dead when the biopic comes out. But Elton John is not, and Elton John saying, "This is me and not anyone playing me," that is something that I thought was very, 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 like, how did you do that? Like, I know that personally when I would see somebody trying to impersonate me, I think I would not say, yeah, that is me, but that is someone trying to impersonate me. And I'm not a very, like, known or extravagant character. And Elton John is, like, so much of a personality. Which brings me to the next point of the film. Taron Egerton. I am sorry if I'm pronouncing any names wrong, because I'm bad at pronouncing names. Just saying. That is a theme that will continue throughout everything I do and everything I say. No guarantee on the pronunciations. Yeah, but Taron Egerton, this is how I'm going to say it right now. Don't come at me. He is so good at this. I am so impressed. And, you know, he looks like Elton John, which is scary, to be honest, because you can try to make an actor look like a person. For example, Gary Oldman as Churchill, which is like, you would never think of Gary Oldman to play Winston Churchill, because they do not look alike at all. Those are like worlds apart. But they did it. They made him look like Winston Churchill. But to me, the Taron Egerton and Elton John transformation is different, because they didn't change him up too much. Like they changed the hairline, for example. They put in the tooth gap and stuff. But he still looks like himself somehow, but still looks like Elton John. And it's so confusing, because when you look at him, like, how he looks naturally, the last thing that would come to mind is Elton John. But somehow he does. And that's impressive. Like, that, I know that's costume and makeup and stuff, but that department nailed it. Also, the historical accuracy of the costumes he wears at performances, very nice. Taron Egerton just portrays this quirky, very extravagant and weirdly extroverted but also introverted character. So nice. It's amazing. I like to watch films with Taron Egerton in them, because I think he's genuinely one of the best actors ever. Don't come at me, but that's my opinion. And it's just so much fun to watch him play. It's pulling you into the story, because you're so invested and you believe this character, everything he does, and it's amazing. I love it. And also he has this kind of, I know, this vibe to be portraying like those quirky and not very conventional characters. I know him not from Kingsman, but from Eddie the Eagle. That is the first film I saw with him. And then I watched Kingsman, and then I was just in love with his acting, because he's so talented. It's ridiculous how talented he is. That is something that is feeding this film and that is making it so believable, because he is Elton John, and that is so impressive. I love it. I am a Taron Egerton, and that brings me right to the team. The team of Rocketman is incredible, but that is something I'm maybe a little bit like preoccupied. If you can say it like that. I don't think you can say it like that, but you know what I mean. Because the team, the crew, the cameraman, the director, the main actor, Like, this team, this pre-existing team works on this film, and they already worked on Kingsman and on Eddie the Eagle. And this is clearly a team that works out. This crew is made to work together, and that is something you can see. That is something I always feel with Tim Burton films. Tim Burton has Johnny Depp as his main actor, Helena Bonham Carter, and Danny Elfman as a composer. And this team works so perfectly together. I'm sorry that I'm saying team and not crew, but they work so brilliantly together that every film they do is somehow great, even if it's the worst film you've ever seen. It's still great. And that is why those crews continue to work together, because when they notice, okay, we are working well together, we can do something that is amazing, let's keep doing that, which is very logical. I hope myself that I will have a team like that one day as well and make great films. But I am especially in love with the cameraman, George Richmond. I know talking about a cameraman is most of the time very boring to a lot of people, so I'm trying to keep it short and quick and very on point. Because a lot of people are like, yeah. But honestly, cameramen are so underappreciated. Like, they need so much more appreciation. They do such a great job, and they do a very hard job that is not just physically hard, because they have to carry around like huge ass cameras and have to like do the weirdest things to get a nice picture. But they also are very creative and are super involved in the process of how the picture looks that they're shooting. And to me, when a director does not work with his cameraman, you see that. Because a cameraman is like he has a different perspective on what he shoots than a director, than an actor, than a writer and stuff. And when the director says, okay, I want this and this and this to happen in this scene and look like this and this, and the cameraman is like, okay, we could try it like this, maybe this shows it off better, everything gets better because everyone knows what they are doing in their personal field of expertise, and together that creates awesomeness. And I just like the style of George Richmond, because he has this, I can't really explain what he does, but it is so specific to him that I can determine that he was a cameraman on a film when I see it. I really can't explain it. Like, he has some of like very intense slow-mo situations, like one take situations. I don't know if one takes are really one takes or if it's in cuts, but he has this situation of one takes, especially in scenes where there's a lot going on. Like, for example, in Kingsman, he films the fight scenes a lot of times, not in a one take, but in long shots that are very continuously on the action without cutting in between. And he does that same thing in Rocketman with the dancing and musical scenes and the big flash mob dance numbers, and it's awesome. That's all. It's awesome. That brings me to the musical scenes, because we know this from a few Disney films, but we also know this from a lot of other musical films. Most of the time, or at least a lot of the musical numbers, are weirdly out of place. And that starts with, as I said, like some Disney films, but also continues to other films that are based off musicals. And even one of my favorites, which is Mamma Mia, of course, has these song moments where you just cringe because why? How? That does not fit at all. It's so weird. And no one did see that coming, and no one would have needed that. As I guess it's very difficult to move from a scene that is normal, like normal talking, normal dialogue, and completely normal situation, and then transfer this into a musical scene that carries on the meaning of the scene, that carries on the plot and doesn't lose it, and comes back right to the scene. That is so difficult. I've rarely seen it, because somehow it's like, okay, we need to put the song in here, so what do? Oh, we just crash the entire scene and put the song in the middle because I don't care at all. And sometimes it's more like that, and sometimes it's less than that. But Rocketman doesn't do that. I mean, sometimes, like once or twice, there's a little cringe, like, why does that happen right now? But the most musical numbers are so logical and so obviously needed in the scenes, because I think, I don't know this, and I was too lazy to research this, but I think that Rocketman was written around the songs and not written and then songs were put in, or at least with a few scenes, because I think what they did is take the songs, look at the songs, what the lyrics were, how the emotions in the song were, what kind of personal value the song has to Elton John and his life. And then they looked, okay, where in his story does this song fit perfectly? And then they wrote the story around it. My favorite example of this is Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, at the end, where he decides to not go on stage, but to go straight ahead to therapy and change his life, because he noticed that his life has a value and he is destroying himself, and he can't keep on doing that because he's not worth being destroyed by anyone, not even himself. And that is so important, because when you know the lyrics of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, it's so perfect for the situation. Because he says, you can't lock me up in your penthouse. I'm going back to my plow. That is the chorus. That is the thing that Yellow Brick Road is about. Leaving this yellow brick road, this life of fancy and penthouse and fame and stuff, and going back to a point where you were mentally healthy and where you were happy, because obviously the yellow brick road is not the point where you are happy at. And he storms out of this arena. I forgot where it was, sorry. But he storms out of the backstage area, out of the building, into the cab, and starts singing the song in the cab. It does not feel forced. It does not feel weird or not right. It feels perfectly for this situation. This is what he thinks in that moment. That is portraying his inner monologue within this song, and the song carries us forward to him going to the therapy, for him showing up and leaving his attitude, his I'm Elton John and I'm so broken, but I fix it with alcohol and drugs and stuff. He leaves that completely behind, and the song tells us that. Another great example to me is Rocketman, because that is when he falls into the pool and nearly dies, because he nearly drowns, because he's so drunk and up on drugs and stuff that he doesn't even care anymore. And that's kind of a turning point, a point where he's like, maybe I'm poisoning myself, not just on drugs and alcohol basis, but also in his relationship, or more like non-existing relationship, because that is not a good relationship, that's so toxic. But the song fits in with that, even though he drops into the water and basically sinks to the ground where his younger self sits at the piano, like a teeny tiny piano, and sings Rocketman. And Rocketman says like high as a kite and stuff. But it perfectly fits into the situation, because it's like he lost it. He lost his connection to the ground. In the picture, it's the different way from the ground. It's like down and not up. But this entire meaning of it is perfectly put with this scene, with this song, and it's just amazing how he gets to the hospital and they dress him up, like, and he goes right back out of the door, right back, next show, next thing, nothing happened. It's impressively done. It's amazingly shot. It's awesome. I know. I can't really say something bad about this film, because it's just so nice and so good. Okay, the last thing, because I'm already escalating again about stuff. The last thing I'd like to say, because I do not want to go too deep into the plot, because the plot is, as I said, not something I can judge, because I don't know how correct it is and how true it is. And I already said stuff about that. But the cinematography is impressive. The way it's cut, the way it's shown, the way the colors are used, the way costumes correlate with the songs and stuff. But my favorite, all-time favorite moment in this film is Elton John arriving at this mental clinic, and he marches through the door at the end of a long corridor, at the end of a long hallway, which ends with another door to the room where his therapy group sits. And he comes in there, everything is dark, but the door is so overly exposed. It's the light exposure is so high that you see nothing but light in the door frame. And then Elton John walks in this costume with his huge ass wings like an angel, but horns on his head like a devil. And he comes in and you just see this silhouette of this devil angel hybrid thingy. And he walks down the hallway into his new life, into his new future, in which he can be happy and he can be himself and clean and not in any way restricted in who he is truly. And we just see this silhouette walking, lit from behind into the darkness, which is not darkness. This is kind of a turning point. This is an important point in the movie. And this looks like he emerges from the light into the darkness, which is basically a turned symbolism of a dead person or a dying person going off into the light. He comes back from the dead, from himself feeling dead inside, from himself not feeling like himself anymore, from himself being completely destroyed by so many things, emotionally, physically, and rebirths himself into this new situation that helps him becoming healthy and happy. And that is so impressively shot. The scene is short. It's slow motion. It is so few, but so much. I think this is the most impressive scene in the entire movie, and it doesn't feature a dance crew, a flash mob, a musical number, nice costume. Okay, one nice costume, but you get the point. It is nothing basically. It's just light, an empty hallway, and Elton John in his costume. And it does so much with me. This is the point that is so important, and it's so beautiful. This is why I love Rocketman. It's one of the greatest movies I've seen in a while. I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. I think the cinematography is, just yes. And I think that also the Oscar was very well placed there. And I'm just, after watching this movie, I'm just so happy for Elton John that he got stuff right, and he's happy now. He's married, he has children, and he's just so happy, and he can be himself, and that without destroying himself. You know, he found his way, and I think it's so inspirational, especially if this is exactly what happened, or at least very close to what happened. This is a story of finding yourself, and against all odds, getting everything right again, getting your feet back on the ground, and just being on the right track again. And that is beautiful in several ways, not just for Elton John, but also for us, because we can see, no matter how bad it seems, you have always the power to change it. It's always within you. We don't need anyone else to tell us who we are or what we have to do, but we are the ones who are important to ourselves, and we should listen to our own feelings, our own emotions, and our own logic to remain happy and not fall into a huge ass hole of bad feelings and bad situations. And I know it's hard sometimes, like especially when you are mentally ill. It is super hard, but still there is this one teeny tiny little thing you can always pull yourself up on. It might take years, it might take more than you have ever given to anything in your life, but it's still somehow worth it to try. And I think that is a great message, and I think the film is so underrated because it's amazing, and I think way more people should talk about it and love this film, because this film is amazing. I love it. Amazing. It's amazing. That's my final word for this. So, hope you enjoyed my not quite a rant today, but just me praising a film that I really enjoyed. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening, and hopefully you will hear me next time.